Welcome everybody to this CHAMP webinar on Cargospot APIs. Good morning, evening or afternoon. My name is Bart-Jan Haasbeek. I am based in Amsterdam and I am CHAMP's Events and Engagement Manager. This is the first CHAMP webinar after the summer break and we are excited to have a record-breaking number of attendees. Many thanks for joining. Last year, July, we hosted our first webinar on CHAMP APIs. And now just over a year later, we have come a long way with great progress and a lot has changed in such a short period of time. Today, we will further look into this. But before we move on, let's address a few housekeeping items. The duration of the webinar is 45 minutes. That's what we plan for, but we have a full presentation with exciting speakers, so it may run over with 5 minutes. All the data we show you is fictitious, and we would like to engage with you and have organized a poll with 2 questions. Tomorrow, you will receive a recording of the webinar. And if you have any questions, please use the tool and we will get back to you at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. If you're interested to learn more, please do not hesitate to reach out to us and we will get in contact with you. The agenda for today, we start with the introduction in a minute of today's panelists. Then we will discuss how to digitize and innovate at your pace. Cristina will look into this. CHAMP APIs platform by Nemil. Then we learn from the market, from our customers, the view from the market and a conversation on the first-hand experience. And then we go to the summary and the Q&A. Now let me introduce today's speakers. From CHAMP, we welcome Cristina Toscano, Sales Manager eCargo and based in Frankfurt. From Singapore, Nemil Sharif, Product Manager APIs, and from World Freight Company, Titus Hientzsch, Group CTO, based in Frankfurt. And Magali Beauregard, Chief Commercial Officer at CargoAi, also based in Singapore. They will discuss how to connect air cargo with CHAMP or Cargospot APIs. Cristina, let's move to you. Could you please kick off the webinar and introduce us to the world of APIs?
Thank you, Bart-Jan, and thank you everybody for joining this webinar today. The topic of APIs has proved to be one of the most appealing when it comes to digitalization. APIs are as popular as they are because they integrate one system with another without the need for complete software overhaul. In this webinar, we are going to focus on Cargospot APIs and how the demand of digitalization has exponentially been increased by COVID. Prior to working in air cargo, my experience with API was in retail. In this industry, the APIs were adopted very quickly in the commercial and logistics areas. This was also integrated to control stock across different sales points and even online. This information was offered across the business, both online and in store, all without ever exposing a supplier system. When it comes to air cargo, there is an incredible value in being connected to the supply chain. In our case, we have witnesses almost every player in the supply chain, both traditional and not traditional, requesting APIs as the next step to their digital transformation. Today's webinar has 3 focus areas: digitize and innovate at your pace, pick and choose from a diverse set, leverage the CHAMP community network effect. Nemil will cover the last 2, and let me elaborate a bit more on the first one. From a CHAMP perspective, we will focus on demonstrating how to share core Cargospot capabilities via APIs. From our experience, we are also seeing the same APIs being used for many different purposes across the supply chain. This means that our integration partners can custom build an API in the way they want to fit their operation needs. What we are doing with Cargospot is making our platform a channel not only for traditional airlines, but also for those who are already using API services. This makes it possible for the client to avoid costly implementations and receive all the necessary information straight into their own cargo management systems. We at CHAM have been building APIs for many years and have a variety of APIs catering to different Cargospot functions. The work that we have done in the past has met the high demand for APIs due to COVID. These cover various use cases meant for forwarders, shippers, third-party portals, CRM systems, and more. Nemil will explain to you in detail how to pick and choose, and the implications that APIs and the leverage of the CHAM community network effect.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you for setting the scene. Let's now learn from our audience. We have two questions which we would like to see answered. One question is the first one about your knowledge on APIs. That's also set the stage for what we can elaborate on today during the webinar. So my knowledge on APIs is I don't know anything. It's very basic. It's intermediate, or maybe you are an expert and you are in charge of this topic within your company. So personally, mine is less than basic. And it for sure could be improved. So I see that quite a few people are voting. Many thanks for that. A very, very, very high percentage and still rising. So let's wait a little longer. The moment over 70% has voted and still counting. Over 75 even now. So let's move on to the answer. Over 80%. And now let's share the results. So, Cristina, what is your comment on seeing this?
Well, actually, it's a very nice result because we have a little bit of everything. I mean, as people who don't really know and basic and intermediate. So I think our webinar today is covering pretty much all the needs, and you're going to be very pleased with the information that we are sharing today.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it's important to tailor to everybody during the webinar. So let's now go to the next question. And that is on the reason why you join this webinar. And here you can answer multiple answers. So my reason to attend this webinar is A, to understand APIs in general, to know how my company can get connected to the air cargo community, to add more APIs to my system, or to learn about CHAM products. And you can tick more boxes. And it's very nice that you are also engaged with 80+% of the audience voting. That is quite a high number. Here there is no clear winner, Cristina, just to let you know, although there are two ones that are on top. Yeah, again, over 80%. So let me again close and share the results.
Oh, okay. Well, this is very interesting because actually people are, again, is very spread out, but basically they're looking for something practical. So I think, again, that this webinar is just perfect for you.
Yeah, I totally agree there. So let's move on to the presentation and introduce our next speaker. And our next speaker is Nemil Sharif. So Nemil, could you explain us more about Champ's API platform?
Fantastic. Thank you, Batian. Thank you, Cristina. So for Champ, the centerpiece of our API approach is really the platform that we have chosen. And one of the key focus areas when we chose this platform was not to invent the wheel. And we chose a product from Google, a tool called as Apigee, which, as you can see from Gartner's diagram, it is one of the leaders in this space. And the tool actually makes my life as a product manager incredibly easy, and also the consumer's life much easier as well. So the tool gives both the consumers and all the partners a lot of tools from out of the box. It's a single point of access for all our APIs. So there is no confusion between, you need to go there for this specific airline or specific product. No, it's all just one single point. We have got a self-service developer portal, about which I'll just speak in a minute. And it also adds a ton of capabilities on top of what Cargospot offers today. Now, from a very high level picture, you have at the very left of your screen the consumer that is trying to access the API. So it could be you or your customer. So it could be a portal, it could be a mobile app, whatever, in an airline house system, does not matter. So that then talks to the single point of entry that I mentioned, which is our API gateway. The API gateway then figures out who is this request for. Is it for Cargospot or some other product within Champ's product portfolio, which airline, etc. So it figures all of this complexity out. But from a customer perspective, it's just very simple, straightforward to access. Now, like I mentioned, one of the key capabilities that is part of our API platform is the developer portal. So it is accessible at developer.champ.aero. You can scan the QR code if you'd like to visit that. Hopefully you can see that. I'll also show the demo in a few minutes. So the key focus, again, like I mentioned, is self-service. So we would like you to take away a few things from this portal without any intervention from Champ. Typically what you could do from this site include, you can see our API catalog, what are the APIs that we offer today. And like Batian mentioned, it was a different picture last year. It's a different picture today. It will be a different picture a few weeks down the line. And you can also download, look at individual API details. What does a specific API do? And also download the specification, as well as accessing something called as a mock, which I will explain in a minute. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen just now. I'm on developer.champ.aero. Developer.champ.aero, which is the URL that you can use to access the developer portal. And here you can go through a list of policies, frequently asked questions, how do you start using an API, etc. But the key focus area for me personally is the APIs button here, or the API catalog. So when you click on that, you can see a list of different APIs that Champ presently offers. So you can click through one of these boxes. So the box represents a specific API, or maybe in some cases a set of APIs. So for example, let me just go through booking, for example. So here on the left side, you can see a bunch of different actions that you can do from a booking perspective. So these include create, update, cancel, the typical actions that you would see. And you can also download the specification, like I mentioned. So here I've just downloaded it so that we can make it faster. So we use a format called as YAML. So it's an industry standard format that's used, Open API specification. So here you can see, for example, this is the API for create, you have retrieve, etc. So from within one, you can then go to the details, see what the fields, mandatory, optional, the examples, description, and also see details about what is the response that Cargospot will give you back, etc., etc. So all of that is quickly covered. Now, one more interesting feature is that we offer something called as a mock. So for example, if I go to say a simple API like track and trace, you can actually click on this available tag. Then let me just authorize myself to make sure I am allowed to use the mock. So I click on authorize and I can just enter, say, a default value and click on execute. So you will see a response back from the system. So this is a virtualized mock, which means that if you want to start using the API immediately upon registration, you can do so, and you can see the response coming back. Of course, this is from the UI. You can use your REST client to do this quickly, and we also have here a bunch of different starter options, like depending on your choice of solution, you can use this to start using the API. The only thing which would change here is the API key. So when you get access to a real live system, we will give you a different API key, and that's pretty much the only change. So I strongly suggest if you register today, it's free to access, and the access will be immediately approved.
Nemil, there is a question, and you just gave the answer. Is the developer champ.arrow access controlled? It doesn't open at my end. That's the question that an airline now asks.
No, it's not access controlled.
No, indeed. So it should open. Let me go back to the presentation. So I have control back over the screen, and we will progress to the next slide.
Thank you. So one of the themes in Cristina's slides was that we want to talk about the network benefit. So from a CHAMP perspective, we have a huge community that's using our solutions, GHAs, airlines, GSAs. You name somebody, they're probably using CHAMP in one way or the other. And that community is a big attraction for different partners in the supply chain. So they would like to connect to this via APIs to this community. And through the use of API Gateway, I have personally found that it's a very easy way to connect. And for the partner to move from one backend airline to say another one, it's just a simple change of an API key. And this then works both ways. So from a CHAMP community perspective, they get access to a large growing partner network. And for the partners, of course, we have a huge customer base. So it works both ways in terms of the network benefit. Now, I wanted to just give you a quick summary. This is a very high level picture of the different APIs that we offer. So say in the booking area, we have the ability to manage bookings. We have a publish booking service where we can push the booking details to a different system. We can manage allotments, master, op active. And then from a capacity perspective, we have ability to manage availability, capacity, track and trace. Then pricing, we have various APIs around that area, and then we have a few around the reference data as well. Now, I wanted to just cover 3 use cases just to make it a little more interesting rather than just talk about a specific API, which could be quite a bit too technical. So here is a use case for availability and price. This is one of the APIs which is of which I have seen a great deal of interest around. Typical use cases include third-party portals, airline in-house systems, forwarders and shippers who want to access the service. It then hits the API gateway, which is routed to Cargospot, and then the response then comes back to the consumer. Now, in terms of how the API itself, there are several search criteria, origin, destination, of course. You have date range, product, price class, agent account number, so on and so forth. Then once the request hits Cargospot, Cargospot goes through a series of checks, meaning what are the bookable flight options, is there capacity available, are there embargoes, so on and so forth. Then it then looks at connections, so it's not just looking at the direct flight, it's also looking at various connections as defined in Cargospot. And at the end, it looks at the price. So the price depends on who is making the request. So it'll first look at whether there is a contract price for the company that is making the request. If not, it will default back into street, and all of this runs pretty fast, and the user gets a response. Now, I want to just also highlight one of the major projects that we did last year in the middle of COVID. So we worked with Japan Airlines, who wanted to provide a door-to-door service for their domestic customers in Japan. The practical use case is that when a shipper tries to move cargo from his or her door, through the solution, they can actually see what are the options that are available. So it could be that it is completely trucked from the origin to the destination, or it could be a combination of truck and air, which means that the shipper that's making the reservation can see, okay, this option, the price is so many yen, and it will take 6 hours to reach its destination, whereas you choose the air component, then it becomes much faster, hopefully, and the price could be a lot different. So it becomes a question of value. What is the value and the service level that the shipper expects, and he or she can make the choice appropriately. So from a CHAM perspective, we did the project in very fast. For the entire end-to-end project, including rollout, we just took a few weeks. And more importantly, we just used APIs without any changes to the core Cargospot system, which made the entire thing a lot faster and more effective in terms of implementation. So a final use case which I want to also share is an integration that one of the airlines did with Salesforce, which is a CRM tool that they use within the company. And they are using two other products, the Cargospot portal, which is a portal meant for shippers and forwarders. And the end user on the portal makes a booking request with an ad hoc rate, which is then sent to Cargospot. Cargospot does a lot of checks, and it notices there is an ad hoc. So which means that what it will first do is it will tell the user on the portal saying that I acknowledge your request, but there is an ad hoc, which means there are other checks to be made. Now, in this case, this airline chooses to review their ad hocs on Salesforce, which is why Cargospot will then push the ad hoc information into Salesforce. And then the staff on Salesforce obviously will need additional information, which is in Cargospot, before they can actually review the request. So in this case, they're looking for capacity. What is the utilization of the capacity on the flight, which then hits Cargospot. Cargospot then gives the information back to Salesforce. And in this case, I'm assuming the Salesforce user approves the ad hoc, everything is fine, which then hits back to Cargospot, and then Cargospot feeds the information back into the portal. So the key takeaway from me, for me personally here, is that this is a combination of 5 different APIs that's actually bringing all this to life. And it again ties back to Cristina's point that because of the APIs, we are able to kind of, irrespective of the use case or however you want to innovate, we are able to achieve all of that through APIs.
Thank you, Nemil. Audience, there are questions coming in. We will address them in a minute. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to use the tool. Let's now go to our next 2 speakers. Let's start with Titus Hientzsch in Germany. So Titus, what is your view on APIs and on APIs specifically for GSAs? Let's learn a little bit on that during the next few slides.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Bart-Jan. happy to be here and happy to introduce World Freight Company. We're the largest network GSSA group with over 2,000 members worldwide. We service over 16,000 forwarding agents with 100 nationalities and over 300 companies in 80 countries. We built a digital backbone in the last few years, which allows us to interconnect, and we use a lot of APIs with all the technology that is available now. So we believe that we're a big innovator, and happy to share our thoughts in this discussion. We also see that a lot of new portals are arising on the market, and we are happy to see that actually, because it helps innovate the supply chain. And we try to provide an end-to-end and seamless end-to-end service to our customers, which obviously is supported by portals, by APIs, and by a lot of other technologies like machine learning or RPA. But we do believe in compliance and in integrity and obviously trust. And it's very important that all the companies trust each other if they want to work with each other. But and we see a lot of hesitation actually, that everyone likes to share data, but no one wants to be the first. So we can only encourage people to move forward and to trust the partners and collaborate, because only that will help us move forward and to really improve the way we communicate in this entire community.
Titus, I have a question for you. If you roll out APIs and you get connected as a GSA with all the airlines, and then they connect directly also with your customers, with the forwarders, and which are their customers as well, wouldn't you make yourself obsolete as a GSA?
No, it's the opposite actually. We see ourselves as a service partner, and making a booking, which can be done on a platform or through an API, is just a very small portion of the service that we as a GSSA provide. So we believe that the fulfillment piece that we provide alongside with it before and after the booking, and before and after the actual departure of the cargo, is a lot more and adds a lot of value to the whole chain. And so we're happy to have that more efficiently and automated. So we're a great supporter of these platforms.
Okay, yes, I understand, and yeah, that's true, of course. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Magali in Singapore. So Magali, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barton. Hi, everyone. So I would like to start by giving you just a few words about who CargoAi AI is. So essentially, what we're doing, we are a technology company based in Singapore, and our mission is really to digitize processes in air cargo. So we have a core e-booking solution. We call it sometimes our e-booking suite. So basically, it's offering schedules, e-bookings, e-quotes, track and trace, CO2 calculation for forwarders typically. But then we also have for all the players in the industry, we have API Suite and API Hub, white label, BI, business intelligence, also charter flight management. So essentially, we have a whole suite of solutions, and our mission really is to advocate in favor of the adoption of really state-of-the-art technology and best practices from other industries to air freight, to air cargo, while still keeping a very pragmatic approach and a very expert perspective of the industry. And in this respect, we're also very thrilled that you see some nice and famous faces on my slides. We're really happy to to have completed our advisory board in the last few weeks with the addition of David Lara. And for us, it's hugely significant because not only does it add even more effort and knowledge to our team, but it's also for us a fantastic opportunity to bounce ideas, to review the product roadmap, to ensure that we continue to steer our product development in the right direction. And at the same time, it's also for us a guarantee that we have the full diversity of the business represented in this board. And that's really, really valuable because we're very careful to ensure that we're not building a one-size-fits-all solution, but we're really taking into account the different plays that are out there. That being said, I would like to present a little bit in more details our core operating model. And so here, basically, what you have to understand really CargoAi is we essentially connect forwarders with airlines or GSAs. So the forwarders, basically, they consume our product, our solution, always via APIs. So forwarders, they either go to our app, so it's basically a marketplace model, or a SaaS model for the ones for the people of you who are a little bit more tech friendly. So basically, users are basically going to the marketplace, doing their search for their shipments, and then retrieving all the information. And this is still powered by APIs. The second way for the forwarders to consume our products, it's directly in their own TMS when we are actually integrated with the suite of API solutions. So this is here more the API hub model. So that's the way the forwarders can connect and really use our products. On the airline side, we actually have two ways to connect. The most desirable one, of course, remains APIs, so that the same way as we are today integrated with CHEMP, we also then connect to the airline system, so CHEMP or any other ERP system out there. So that's really the premium, that's really the long-term vision, that we have more and more airlines connected via APIs. But we also have a way of connecting without API. So for the very small airlines or GSAs, for example, we actually just launched a new module last week, where we basically now allow forwarders to also see uploaded rates, contract rates, or market rates for the airlines that are actually not yet there with their APIs. So that's just food for thought. Yes, we do advocate in favor of APIs, but you have to be pragmatic to some respect. And we are also basically, a marketplace is also still having somehow a hybrid technology base. That being said, I want to highlight a little bit now where the CHEMP partnership sits. Basically here, we CargoAi, we are connected with CHEMP, and you can see that highlighted on my slide. So what it means is we have a core integration of our system, which is already done, which was already completed at the beginning of the year. And basically that brings a lot of benefits for the CHEMP airlines. So the first one is basically the airlines get accelerated time to market. So an airlines that is using basically the CHEMP APIs only need about 2 to 3 weeks maximum for some testing to be live on our marketplace. So almost no resources, zero investment, and then basically they get access to the marketplace environment. The second benefit which we see, obviously, it's this whole topic of standardization. And we of course believe that CHEMP and ERPs will really help airlines get on board that whole topic of standardization and to really get ready for the rollout of the IATA One Record standard. And the third one, obviously, is for CHEMP airline, without any sort of investments, they really can leverage the partnership. And via marketplace, they will gain visibility. They will be visible not only in the marketplace, but also wherever we end up distributing the airline partners. So be it in the TMS, like we have seen earlier, in the systems of the digital forwarders today, and so on and so on. So there's really going to be a lot of gains in terms of visibility, efficiency, obviously, and in terms of expansion of the reach. So just to conclude with a couple of words on my side, in a plumbing phase, knowing that basically the industry is still making a lot of decisions and changes in this respect. So the first one on our side is, of course, keep accelerating the API strategy, but always keep in mind these concepts of standardization and also non-exclusivity. So of course, embrace the ERP like Chem that can help you accelerate with your API development, but also keep in mind that today the benefits, the way we see it, for the whole industry in terms of speed of digitization can only really be achieved whenever you're going beyond the idea of point-to-point, peer-to-peer connectivity. So really embrace that idea of using API hubs. The second one is building bridges between tech and business. What we believe is today, in this day and age, in this digital age, every company is becoming a tech company to some respects. So it's really super critical to ensure that there is a high level of technology understanding in the business teams, but that there is also a high level of interest of the business from the IT interfaces. And sometimes the challenge that we still see is IT wanting to stay in IT, and actually you have to want to know your business. So that's another call to action, maybe more for the IT people out there. And the third one essentially is look at the new business models and raise SaaS API hubs. So SaaS is one of them. CargoAi, typically we are, our core e-booking platform is a SaaS platform. We have other products and solutions built around that, but essentially we are advocating in favor of airlines exposing their products. Because what we see is once an airline starts exposing the product, then they can actually gain market share, increase their load factors, gain that extra yield premium points, reducing basically the cost as well, because then you get rid of the whole transactional efforts that still go along the traditional distribution channels. So obviously there's a huge impact in terms of profit, because you have two impacts, both on the revenue and the cost. And that being said, you have a huge leverage in terms of markets slash marketing. So which markets do you actually have access to in terms of geographical market, but also in terms of segmentation of customers? Think about, so again, where you end up being distributed in third parties, websites, languages as well is another one thing that basically with the new distribution and platforms, you basically get translated into many different languages as well. So that's just a couple of points, but I guess I will end that here, and we'll see whether there is any question.
Thank you, Magali. Yes, there are questions. So let's move now also to the questions amongst the panelists also, and then we go to the Q&A with the audience, and there are also quite a few questions there. So Magali, so we mentioned that a lot has changed in the last year since we did last year's webinar in July on APIs. So what did change for you in the last, let's say, 2 years or recent history, not going back too much?
That's an interesting question. I myself have I've been with CargoAi since February. I mean, we are a relatively young player in the industry, but we're actually exactly 2 years now. So everything has changed for us. But for us, what we are seeing is still the need, to bring these hybrid solutions to really make sure that we have the best user engagement I think for us, what's really, really important is to make sure that we're not just working with API integrated carriers out there. We really want to ensure that we actually cover the whole scope in terms of airlines that are ready with APIs, airlines that want to have a modern distribution, but they don't have APIs, so they still want to basically distribute their rate sheets in an efficient way. And that's very important. And as well, the whole topic of making sure that a user can come to a marketplace, but can book more than just general cargo, and basically book special products, all sorts of ULD types. So on our side, we've actually done a huge work in terms of really ensuring that the scope of bookable products is really as wide as possible.
Yeah. So indeed, a lot has changed in the recent history. So Nemil, if we look at the future, if so much has changed in the last year, what do you expect future developments will be for APIs?
So the platform, so we have actually been investing on the platform for the last 2 to 3 years, making the whole company API ready. And my personal focus is now on the handling side. So we have built quite a lot on the airline side, and we launched a few handling APIs earlier this week, and we will see quite a few coming out through the next few months.
Okay, so I'm very curious on that. Cristina, you mentioned retail APIs, different marketplaces. What are the main differences between those marketplaces and air cargo?
Well, actually many, but at the same time, APIs at the end of the day, they are covering the same function. I mean, when you're working for retail, the needs are different than the needs that you have in air cargo, but the function of the APIs, how you can integrate in the system without getting into, for instance, in our case, what's with the supplier system, is pretty much the same. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge topic actually. But here for our proposals for air cargo, yeah, we work in the same. The technical part is pretty much the same, and we also work with hub of APIs. That was the thing that in that industry worked at.
Yeah. Is there anybody of you who would like to ask anybody else a question at this stage?
I think I would pick it up.
Please.
I would like to ask Titus, because I think it's a big topic in all the discussions we're having with the airlines. Is, of course, with the airlines, what we're seeing is that there is a redefinition of the roles of the business teams, right? In terms, because as you mentioned, there will be less transactional, there will be more added value of the sales team at the airline side. So I'm also curious now to see how Titus, do you see the role of the GSA evolve in line with the digital distribution? Do you see like your team going into like more value added services which you might not be doing today, like pricing, revenue management, or anything else in this line?
Well, definitely there's a change, and you may call it disruption, but I believe that it has always been there, that the GSAs especially have provided a whole bunch of services surrounding the booking process. And obviously now this becomes more obvious, because even the bookings received through the various portals may have to be reviewed, because there's still a flight planning to be done. There may be issues, there may be questions. So we see ourselves also as a connector, and to help the agents and the airlines to digitize and to improve their processes. So it definitely does change the landscape a bit, and puts more focus on other services, but it maybe also makes our partners understand the value that the GSAs are able to bring, actually, because everything was narrowed on a booking, which is really a small portion.
Okay, thank you, Titus. Let's move forward. There are so many more questions also that I would like to raise on digitization and where we are, etc. But let's not do that. We are pressing for time here, and there are many questions from the audience. As a matter of fact, there are so many questions we will not be able to answer them all, but we will get back to you via email on your question. We know who asked the question, and we will get back to you with an answer. So Nemil, let's just start at the top. How can we access your API, and what are the terms of purchase and resale for customer use?
So the access itself, you can start with a mock, going to the developer.champ.aero, and post that you can reach out to Champ. We will actually guide you through the process. It also depends on who is asking, because at the end of the day, the airline or the data owner does control. It's their decision to open up the API. So we will actually work with both you and the airline or the handler that's involved, and we will take you through that process.
Yeah. Okay. The next one, it's from a ground handler. All the examples are vertical examples. We are ground handlers are facing many times double entry, which is inefficient. Do you see horizontal cases in your suite benefiting then ground handlers?
So Bhartian, sorry if I may take that. The focus for me, like I mentioned, we are switching over to handling personally, and you will see quite a lot of use cases coming through as a result in the next few weeks and months.
Okay. Are there any charges to implement APIs?
So we have two different pricing models. There is a charge to use the APIs, yes, not to implement per se. It will depend on the commercial model in question. So I don't want to get into the commercial model on this call, but you can reach out to us and we will again guide you through the commercial part of the equation.
Yeah. And this is not a question, but a remark. Hello, we are very interested in the use case that you present in relation with integration with Salesforce. Please, if we can have more details. I will not mention the airline. It's an airline asking that, so that is great feedback here. And there are quite a few questions on the support of special cargo bookings with API confirmation, dangerous goods, pharma, etc. I don't know. Is this restricting booking? Any comments on that? Maybe also from Magali on this case. I don't know how you work with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said earlier, I think we are getting ready to deal with any sorts of commodities. There's been a huge work done in the last few months now to really understand what airlines require at the time of booking, depending on the commodity, depending on the product, to really understand, okay, what information an airline needs at the time of rate display and booking. And so as a platform, we are now ready for that. We actually have launched, I think in the last few weeks, we have launched our module. What we are now working on is making sure that our portfolio of airline partners are also developing their APIs, and we do it hand in hand, so that we can basically send them the information. So we can push them the search request with the shipment details as always, like OND, shipment dimensions, but then also having the commodity, the special handling codes, and that they can work with the API to respond and send results. So this is work in progress, I would say, going at different speeds depending on the airline portfolio, but definitely something which is possible.
Yeah, and you echo this, Nemil.
Yes.
Yes. Same for Champ indeed. Okay, let's leave it here. There are more questions. We will get back to you. Some are very specific to one specific customer, so we will get back to you on that. And let's move on and go to the summary. Cristina, if you could take care of the summary, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rajan. Well, today we have seen across how the APIs across all industries have developed, and as well that the needs that we have within the air supply chain. At the beginning of this webinar, I introduced how APIs are also present in other industries, and they're also increasing besides air cargo, obviously. And right after, Nemil, well, he has shown us a very high level overview, but obviously very interesting, of the Champ API Gateway, which is our developer portal, and the growth of our partner network. It has also been very interesting to see that he has shared a real example of how this webinar was integrated with JAL and the integration with Cargospot portal, Cargospot, and Salesforce. When it comes to our speakers, Titus, representing the voice of GSSAs, has an important plea to the air cargo community, which is to apply the best practice of other industries in terms of digitalization and the benefits that this has for the whole community. Magali has also shared her thoughts about how to accelerate the APIs, the strategies with the standards and non-exclusivity, building bridges between technological and business teams, where embracing SaaS and API solutions will impact your core business. So, of course, there's a lot more that we would like to talk about, and we will also be part of the discussion. So I really hope that we have your interests, and APIs are something that you're considering to get into for your digitalization. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Cristina, for the summary. And I would like to thank Titus as well, Magali, Nemil. Thank you very much for being on the webinar, on the panel today. It was quite interesting, and thank you all the audience for attending the Cargospot API webinar. You will be receiving a link to the recording. If you're interested, there is later this month or next month in October a webinar on mobile. Please join us again, and many thanks. Hope you are staying safe, and hope seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.